white because it looks like marshmallow cream. I keep talking about that. Okay, so now I've stippled the whole thing, and I used light blue to match the back. Okay, but I often use gray. I think I mentioned that before because it'll match any color, and it takes on the color. All right, so now that I'm done, I trimmed my edges of my fleece. Okay, and I wanted about a 1-inch binding, as you can see here. Okay. And so I actually trimmed this to, I believe it was 1 inch and 3/4. Okay, my fleece. And then somebody was asking about this. Well, what do you do for your binding? I know where to stitch it. I then roll it over to the very edge of my quilt and I stitch it. So you can see, okay, I stitched the very, very edge of the quilt, and this gives me a guideline. Okay. Now I do you can hand stitch this if you like, but I like to do my stitching on the outside. So I use the guideline to figure out where I'm going to pin it. So I just pin it just barely over that edge, okay? And then I turn it over and I use that as my seam guide. And I do a 1/4 inch stitch over here, and that's where my binding goes, okay? So you can see my binding. I'm pretty close, being pretty straight on this edge. So that's a technique I use, okay? And there are probably many techniques that you can use, okay? And what I like about doing that, it gives a little bit more of a edge to your firmness to your edge, okay?
I'm confused about something, I'm
Sure.
sorry. You said you cut 1 3/4.
Of the fleece, out here.
You cut it out here.
And then I turn it over, and then I sew it.
This is folded.
Well, I tell you what, my stitching wasn't correct real well, and it was when I put the
I
binding
see.
on, so I
Here
just
I
took
see
the
it
edge. Yes, here it is on this side. Okay?
So that's folded.
So if I get a little crooked and I get a little bit more than I needed, then I just clip
So
the
you
edge.
trimmed it.
Okay? All right? And that's what I did over here.
That's why I could see, that's what
Yeah.
confused me, I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter.
I really needed, I needed to make my binding a little bit wider, and I didn't. Okay, so I had to clip it a little bit because I made the mistake on my measurements. But you can compensate, right? When I stitch it, okay, when I make my binding, this is a 36-inch quilt, square, all right? And I do about 2.5 inches to 3 inches on the extra on my length. Okay, so 36 times 5 is 41. So I make a 41-inch binding piece, okay? 4 of them, whatever your quilt is. Like my last quilt was 50 by 70. So I would have made a 55 by 75 strip, okay? So obviously, unless you're going to buy a long piece of material, you may have to do whatever you do to put your binding together, okay? And then I showed you my technique of how, I would put it on, okay? All right, now.
So you actually, even though you've got this pinned on this side, you actually machine stitched it from this side.
Yes.
Hoping that you would catch all this on the back
Well,
side.
I knew I was going to be because I had pinned it all down.
Well, but
I used quite a few pins.
Sandy, you stitch it from the other side of this?
I stitch it right here. I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to use this as a guideline, and I'm going to
stick right over
stitch about, scant 1/4 inch, okay, on this side. And then when I turned it, like I said, I'm, what is that one side? It is. I'm not perfect, but I'm pretty close. Okay? I got a nice size binding. See, it's a little narrow. I'll just compensate when I iron it under, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all I have to do, because I iron a measure that I've got my 1 inch, and I pin it so that it just barely goes over, okay, the stitching. All right?
So because you're not doing a continuous binding like we do with it,
That's right.
that you're
I'm
doing, that each one of these strips are separate rather
Yeah,
than
that's
hooked
how I
together.
do it.
Gotcha.
That which makes my corner.
Yes,
So
separate.
now I sew it to make a point at the end, and so I take my measurements here, and I go 1/4 inch from here and 1/4 inch, and I just mark it, right? And that's where, I'm going to sew to. All right? Okay? Then, one of these are already marked. Here it is. Okay. Then I'm going to take my quilt, right? And I usually turn it like this, okay?
why don't you sit down up here, Belle?
Oh, here's.
Already got it. I already have it pinned, and I already have it turned around. Already turned usually, okay? This one I did it, okay? All right, so I'm already pinned, and I just leave this little edge. But on this case, I did not, so I'm going to try to do the best I can. All right, so now you can see I've got a 45-degree angle here, all right? I pull my point back, all right? And then I use a protractor. But you don't have to use a protractor if you don't have one. You can also use one of your guides, okay? All right? And I just, I have my 90-degree here, I straight along here, and I know it's 90 degree because it's straight from point to point, and I mark it, okay? I don't have to draw a line, but I did this case to show you that it is a straight line, okay? And I can put my protractor on it, and it's a 90 degree, okay? And then I'm going to go from point to point on my 45-degree angle, okay? From here to there, and I just actually just line my little right triangle, okay? There's my right triangle. I've marked it. I'm going to stitch from here to here. I'm going to back stitch once, okay, because I'm on point, right? I'm going to stitch to here, and I am done, okay? I'm going to cut across the point and cut here, and then I'm going to turn it inside out, and I have my miter corner. That's all I do. So I've got one corner I haven't done, so I'm going to demonstrate again, all right? All right? I got it.
Over to the front.
Okay. Yeah, when I turn it to the front, this is an easy one to do, okay? I just go like this, okay, I'm approximately at a 45-degree angle, and I just cut it. Okay.
And then you stitch it flat.
No, I just leave it there. Okay. No, I didn't bring my good scissors, right? It's a darn good point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Now I've done this. I've taken stitch witchery, put it in there, and ironed it to keep it down. Okay, keep it firm. And I actually hand stitched it. On this one, or the last one I just did, which is in the closet, if you want to go look at it, is that I just left it alone because the fleece sticks together well. It doesn't flip. Okay. So that's all I do, and now I got a 45-degree angle to work with. Okay. Well, it might be a little bit harder to see. I got my
What
silver.
you do with that? Okay.
Again, I just line my quilt up, pull my material back. Okay. And sometimes I'll pin these to let you know, just so it holds my material. Okay, so it doesn't keep moving on me.
This is the same technique you use for mitering a border.
Okay, when I'm mitering a border, though, I'm not going to make the triangle.
You're not going to make the triangle.
I'm just going to go
Right.
straight
I
here.
was thinking in terms
But
of,
that's exactly what I do. Okay. All right. And sometimes I have to kind of work it a little bit to get my, and this is pinned and it's causing me problems, so I'm going to unpin it. Okay. All right. All right. So I lay it there.
And your seams are folded back.
Everything's folded back. I'm going to head out pressed. Okay. And I'm going to take my little square here. All right. And I'm about on the line, and I think I have a silver pencil here.
How much do you measure from the seam?
I'm not. I'm
You're
right
not.
on the point. Here's my point where my two come together, see?
Oh, okay, that's where you measure.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
All right?
That's what I didn't understand.
So I'm just going to put a point there, right? All right? And then I'm going to go from, oops, I better go this way, right? All right? From this point, where my little seam is, to this point, until my, okay? So here's from here to here, okay? And here to here.
Is that right?
Doesn't look right, does it? No, it's not, because I don't have my 45. Where's my 45? There we go. Thank you. Okay? Right in the middle, right? Okay? There's my 45. And also, if I have this pressed, you'll know it too, because you got a line down the middle. All right? But I usually use this, and I'm going to show you this technique too. I put that on point, and put that on the edge. Okay? Here's my 45 degrees, so I was pretty close. Okay? And I take my protractor over here. I have to turn it upside down. This way. Straight on the line. See, I'm pretty close on both of them. Then just roll it out till I have the triangle. Okay? So I was pretty close. You can see both my lines. It was pretty close, either technique. Okay? All right? And now again, I'm going to sew there to there, there to there. And then I will clip my seams, right? Fold it
And you
under.
cut the rest of that off. Right,
Yep.
Sandy?
Yeah, I'm going to clip it along the edge here,
Right.
You need
Here,
like
here.
a quarter inch?
quarter inch.
Okay.
And then that's your
And then
miter
that
quarter.
gets cut. This part gets cut.
Well, yeah, like the rest of
When you're
them do.
finished, like you just did.
Yep, I would just cut that the 45 degree. Okay? And this kind of shows you, because I got it here, I could actually cut it right here
Right,
too.
yeah.
So there's many ways you could do that 45 there. Okay? So, I mean, I'll sew this if you'd like to see it sewn. I will sew it. You want to see?
Yeah.
Okay. Move my needle over. Okay? And I like to do that because then this kind of gets in the way. And with that, you know, 1/8 of an inch instead of 1/4 of an inch on my presser foot, it helps. If you don't, well, then you have to work it a little bit more, okay? So I start on my first point, and I usually start, because you can see it's kind of bulky, I usually start it a little bit behind, in front of it, and then I back stitch into it. Okay? And then I sew to my point. When I get to this line, I back stitch a couple times. And then back here, because I want to reinforce the point, right? And then I go to my next point. Make sure these two edges are you know,
Did you only back stitch on the one side of the point? You didn't?
on one side.
Just one side?
Mm-hmm.
That was my question too.
So it's not too bulky. You could do both.
Well, I was just asking. Eva had the same thought.
I did.
Okay, and actually I'm going to share on the mug rugs that I did last week. I saw a technique for the mug rugs, if you, that pattern, where she actually stitches just like 3-4 stitches at the top of the point, and that also reinforces it. And I actually did those on the mug rugs I made. So you can see I've got a pretty good triangle there, right? Right on point, okay? Now usually I have my plastic bag here taped to my to my table so I don't get my scraps everywhere, and I usually use my pinking shears, but I don't have it. I'm going to do a 1/4 of an inch cut, and then I'm going to cut across the point. Okay? And then I turn it. And of course I got to work my point, right? So I have my blunt object to work my point in. Stuff my point up there. There's my point. And I'm pretty good right there, because when I put it on the two edges, you know, I've got my point. I need to fix my fleece a little bit to get it up there, but I just need to put, there, I got my fleece up there better, see? So there's my miter corner, and look in the back, see? It looks pretty good. And then, you know, my front. And once you iron it, it'll be nice, okay? And you can see how I did my stippling. I just go to the seam and turn it back around and come the other direction, okay? It doesn't make, it'll be different every corner depending where it ends.
Right.
But again, I mean, I'm not too concerned about that, okay? I think it does fine.
Great for the quilt show. Have somebody